Hello, She Major Fei Fei, and I am going to introduce you to a recipe. It's my jerk chicken casserole, and it's inspired by Island Vibe Cooking from YouTube. So that is where I found inspiration for this dish. And so I'm going to go through this step by step. So you can get a good idea of how I prepare my dish. So step one was to get a red bell pepper, cut it in half, hold the inside and seeds, and chop it into bite-sized pieces. And also don't forget to wash your pepper. And so as you see here, I'm slicing it long ways. And then I'll go back and slice it the opposite way to make my diced red bell pepper. Here I have my skillet that I'm warming so that I can put my diced vegetables in. And so once the skillet is warm, I'll be adding some extra virgin olive oil, and I will be adding to the skillet some onions, some green bell peppers, and the red bell peppers. Here you see I have purchased some already diced yellow onions. So I'm not going to use all my diced onions because I want to save them maybe for another dish later. So I'm going to add a cup of diced onions. And then I'll add in the diced red peppers, which is about a cup. For my diced green peppers, I just purchased some store brand. My store brand was Kroger. Already diced green bell peppers. I used a majority of the bag. The remainder of the bag I added to my chicken that I already seasoned. So I just mixed that in with my chicken, what was remaining. But that was about a cup of diced green peppers. So you just let that fry, saute, whatever you want to call it, to get it tender, and continue to check back and mix it up so it doesn't burn. Here I have some mix of spices that me and my daughter Ava created. So it consists of various spices. But the most important thing, if you decide to create your own mix of spices, is to add salt, to add pepper, chicken seasoning. I also did poultry seasoning, and most importantly, jerk chicken seasoning. My jerk chicken seasoning came in a packet from Walmart. I mixed all of those ingredients together with some onion powder, thyme, and I just cover my vegetables with this mixture of seasonings. And I also marinated my chicken in olive oil and the mixture of these seasonings as well, so they could have that great jerk chicken flavor. My side dish is island sweet potatoes, which is another inspired recipe from YouTube. And I will be loading and going over my recipe that was inspired from YouTube as well for the island sweet potatoes. Here I'm adding butter to these sweet potatoes. They were already chopped. Sweet potatoes, pick sweet is my preference for sweet potatoes that are already prepared. So I don't have to go through chopping them, boiling them, straining them. These taste just as good and just as flavorful. So I'm adding about 4 teaspoons of butter because it's just best to cook your sweet potatoes in butter, and any kind of brown sugars that you have, just to get that flavor infused. So I like my sweet potatoes to be infused with butter. All right, and I'm gradually coming back to stir my vegetables, make sure they're not burning. They're starting to get tender, lose the vibrancy in the color. That's how you know that they're almost done. I decided to add about 2 tablespoons of butter to my mixed vegetables. I really like the taste of butter, and I knew that I was going to be mixing this with rice, and so I want as much flavor as possible in these vegetables because the flavor of these vegetables is going to help with the flavor of the rice. So just mix that all together and make sure that everything is nice the way you like it, as far as flavor, as far as texture. While your butter is melting, now would be a good time to go ahead and prepare your oven by setting it at 350. So you're able to put your combined ingredients into a nice hot oven to continue the cooking process, which lowers the amount of time that you have to cook your dish. So earlier I had washed some rice and I let it sit for about an hour in the water. Now this was just one small bag, about 3 cups of regular long grain white rice. It doesn't have to be name brand Mahatma, anything like that. This was actually not Mahatma. This was a different kind. And I didn't want to mix my rices together because I was afraid the texture would turn out not correct. So I just decided to use a whole bag of rice instead of mixing them together. And so this is raw, clean rice that I've added to my vegetables. And I'm just going to mix the rice into the vegetables and let it pick up that flavor that we added earlier to these vegetables. Now that's going to go on their rice, and we're just going to continue. I'm going to continue to build on this flavor. Now this part was not inspired by Island Vibe Cooking. This actually is something that I always add to any kind of chicken casserole, and that is cream of chicken. In this case, cream of chicken and mushroom. I just feel like it just builds on that flavor, and it makes it so creamy. So not only do we have that spicy jerk chicken kick, it's gonna be creamy, and melts in my mouth type of rice, where I just only have to eat the rice if I just wanted to eat the rice. So this rice is going to be so good. So good. So I just mix these ingredients together with the cream of chicken. I only used 1 can because I didn't want to like overload it. But you can use 2 cans of cream of chicken if you like it real creamy. But because I was just trying to not add so many calories, I only used 1 can. Also, to you want to make it liquid. You want to make it to a point where it cooks, because you're going to sit this in the oven. The rice is not done, so you're going to need some type of liquid, whether it be water or some type of chicken broth, to cook your remaining rice in. And so you continue to mix that. I just added it in until it was very soupy. And the reason I made it so soupy and watery is because I wanted to ensure that I had enough liquid so that the rice can be fully cooked. You don't want hard rice. It just would just ruin the dish if the rice was hard. So if it's still clumpy in some areas, you can add more liquid, more water, or more chicken broth. And I just kept adding because I could still see where it was kind of creamy more than soupy. And you want it soupy so that it can absorb, the rice can absorb the water or the broth. I don't want it creamy because if it's still creamy, there's not a lot of fluid that can be absorbed. The rice can absorb it. So it would still be hard once I got it out of the oven. So I almost used like the whole box of the chicken broth. And here I'm adding my raw chicken pre-seasoned. I pre-seasoned it already this morning. That morning I had pre-seasoned it. And I had added the remainder of the green peppers to it. The same seasoning is the same seasoning, the jerk chicken seasoning that I put on the vegetables. And so I'm just laying the raw chicken over the rice and vegetables. I was trying to find a spot to put the chicken in. This is going to be so good. And I'm so glad that I took the time to prepare the dish. So yeah, I want to make sure I get every single drop of flavor. So I'm going to sprinkle those green peppers on the top of the dish. So my pan is nice and hot. My oven is nice and hot. I'm going to put a lid on it to trap in all the heat so that my rice cooks fully and I don't lose any flavor. And I'm going to just stick it in the oven. I stuck it in my oven for an hour and 10 minutes. But that's only because I am in love with my oven and I know how my oven works. And my oven is a slow cooker oven. So for your oven, it may get a lot hotter, quicker, cook faster. So you may reduce the time to an hour. But the most important thing about your cooking time is to make sure that your chicken is not raw.